involvement in Total War goes back to the mid-90s, and I was actually responsible for working with Creative Assembly to float the idea of really redefining the strategy genre.
For me, I work extremely closely on the battlefields day in, day out, and it's the part of the game that I see. There's a tremendous amount of hard work gone in all areas, particularly what we've done on the battlefield. It just looks impressive. When you look at the in-game movies, people are assuming that they're pre-rendered things, but they're not, and it's all in-game. And just the scale that we've managed to bring into Total War is far beyond what anybody thought we'd actually get when we started this.
Men are built out of random parts that we sort of supply the engine. One unit of peasants or peasant spearmen will be made out of 5 different random arms, bodies, legs, heads, faces, helmets, and all that sort of builds the base for the individual look of each character. Look at all these things incorporated together. You've got the multiple body parts, the shields and weapons varying. When it all comes together, it really looks awesome on the battlefield. The
biggest areas, personally for me, are the settlements and the castles, and I've worked very hard with a lot of the other people to bring in whole new technology on that end, make them fully destructible, bring them to life a lot more within the battle.
Building our cities, we made them relatively flat, and the skyline is normally dominated by a large feature such as a church or we've also employed an organic way of building them, rather than most RTS games where they kind of employ a clone building structure. We've actually got an organic, sprawling city where there is no clone buildings whatsoever. I think everyone's sick and tired of seeing buildings sink through the ground in games, and we want to do something a lot more believable for Medieval 2, and the system we've employed there is localised damage to the actual point of impact from artillery.
The whole new production system for all the settlements and the castles and double ring walls, and we were allowed to bring in a lot more gameplay and improve the siege battles beyond measure.
First sat down to look at AI, one of the big ones was settlement AI.
We need to be able to have AI that can defend everything from tiny little village with no walls up to huge 3-ring citadel.
Because the settlements are much more complex in this game, castles have multiple rings of defense.
Castles are kind of a typical medieval feature, so we didn't want to disappoint there, and we've got some absolute monsters, 3-tiered walls, and large keeps dominating the skyline for those.
Simply changing that mechanic, the AI to support that completely changed how settlements look.
So the real thing that the Aztecs bring is mass. Their capital city, Tenochtitlan, was quite possibly the largest city in the world at the time that they were discovered. They had very, very large armies. The European forces that were crossing the Atlantic obviously had very small forces, so it's an interesting confrontation between large primitive forces and small technically advanced forces.
I think it's difficult to sort of simplify religions in a way that you can turn into game mechanics and something that's going to be fun and challenging to play with.
And there's also the possibility that the Pope will take a hand and send an inquisitor to sort out the heresy if you don't deal with it yourself.
Music is based on the region that you're in. So if you fight in the desert, you'll hear Arabic kind of music, or you fight the Aztecs, you hear Aztec music.
Everyone asks me what faction I'm going to play. Well, being Australian, I'd have to say the French. Why, I hear you ask? Because how else are you going to kick the Pommies' butts? Nah, only kidding. Yeah, no, I'd have to say the French.
I've actually been really enjoying playing the French. There are 2 reasons for this. One is that because they start surrounded by enemies, that there's always something going on. And the second one is actually the audio. The guys have done the accents and the speech for them, have done such an absolutely great job with the French. I just love the way they talk.
Looking forward to playing the Turks because of their variety of siege weapons and unique units like the different types of elephants. It should be a lot of fun.
I'm really looking forward to playing Denmark. I'm Scandinavian myself, so they're my first port of call. Also, Denmark has a lot of brutal heavy infantry, and they're the kind of guys I really like to play with. So yeah, most of all, I look to bring terror from the north.
Probably France, just because so much of the dev team is English and can't stand France, so I'm going to enjoy sticking it to them as France.
I think I'm going to play the Turks. They have a great set of units, the elephants, the camels, and of course their whaling in the game is just awesome.
I'm looking forward to playing Egypt because they have such a varied range of units ranging from very heavy armoured Mamelukes to more light desert cavalry, and any army that has people throwing basically medieval versions of napalm hand grenades has to be a good thing.
I really enjoy hit and run tactics, so I'd have to say it's going to be the Mongols and the Turks, and yeah, I'll find the one that's got the best exploits to make me win the most online, so yeah, whichever one allows me to do that.
I think the French. Yeah, probably the only English person that will play as a French, so why not?
I think I'm really keen to play probably one of the Islamic factions, like the Turks or Egypt. I spend a lot of time working on the Western factions and the Catholic factions. I spent a lot of time working on Catholicism and the Pope, and I'm really sick of all that.
Well, given my cultural background, I'll probably say Russia. Because of their cavalry, because of Cossacks, who in the history they were professional soldiers, basically mercenaries, and those cavalry units should make quite an interesting experience.
Oh, it'll have to be the Scottish, otherwise my mum will kill me.
Probably Portugal, I'd say, because they sort of start off with two separate, distinct areas, and it's sort of got Spain in the middle there. So you know, it's sort of one of those hard ones to play.
I'll probably play as the Turks because I like I'm very fond of Arabic music, and I like their accents are cool, their units are cool, the whole desert thing is cool.
I don't really have a favourite faction.
You love them all?
I love them all. They're like your own children. They're all special in many different ways. So it's kind of impolite to pick on one.
Oh, it's going to be the English. We're going to go crusading again. Go and find some French.
Well, the thing is, right, the thing I like about medieval is you can actually get to play the Welsh. But the bad thing is that you're actually fighting for the English. I reckon they should change that. I reckon Wales should have their own faction. Or it should be in an expansion pack. Something like Wales Total War, maybe.